Hi folks, and welcome to the channel. And in this video we're going to do a mix breakdown of a song that I've recently mixed up. We've not done one of these for a while. So let's check out my mix breakdown of Poeta Glorious. So yeah, like I said, we've not done a mix breakdown for a while. This is part of the Bobby Torres' Frightbox mix script. We mixed this last month in June, so yeah, just into June. We just into July. Well, I thought I'd do a mix breakdown of this. A, I'm really proud of this mix. B, I've had some really good feedback. I'll show you that a bit later. And with all the comments I've had on this mix, I thought, cool, I think this would make a good mixed breakdown video. And I did get in contact with the band themselves, Poeta, and they have given me permission to do this. So big thanks to them. I know this video will get a copyright claim, not a strike, but yeah, it's not my music, so that's fair enough. So how things will break down. We'll have a quick listen to the song, then I'll break each instrument group down. We'll have a look at each channel and look at their sends and effects, submixers or buses if you will, and then we'll have a look at the stem tracks and the master bus, master fader, two bus, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll have a look at the mastering that I did on this track. Let's have a quick listen to the track, the final version of the track, fully mixed and mastered. So there you go. As you can hear, it's got that sort of indie rock, pop punky vibe to it. I quite dig this one. We've done a few songs of theirs before in the mix script, and I quite dig this band. Not normally the sort of music I normally listen to. I'm more into the more sort of extreme metal and metal in general, but I know all these guys in the band are metalheads, but they like a bit of pop punky stuff as well. So like I said, to start off with, we'll have a look at the drums. So I'll let me solo the drums out. So these are the raw drum sounds with all the processing switched off. And then with all the processing on. Hopefully you can hear a bit of a difference there. Start off with, yes, there is a kick and a snare sample on this, but they're not some sample from a sample library. These are samples from taken from the actual kit itself, and these are not to replace the original snare and kick. These are just to enhance them. So we'll have a look at the kick sample first, and as you can see across all the drums, I have got this console emulation up, this console emulator, and this is the A console from Summoners. I absolutely love this. It's just to add a little bit of console saturation, console warmth, if you will. And I have got the push on, and I've got it on hot. Even though it says hot, it is quite subtle, and that's across all the drums, room mics and overheads. I've put that on absolutely everything, so I'm not going to show that on every bit of the kit. Following that, I've got the drum EQ from AIX DSP. Not long since I had this, but I'm still getting used to it. Just add a little bit in, around about 55 hertz. Just take some of that mid-range out, and just added a little bit of clickiness at the top end, around about between 4 and 6K. All I've done on there, I did start off using the True Dynamics from Kaz Rogue compressor, but I ended up using the AIX Intuition compressor. Got me where I wanted to be, so Bob's your uncle on that one. Basically, all I did was copy and paste those settings across onto the main kick, because they're the same kick. So there was no need to use anything different, just to have some consistency between those two kicks. So, we have got a kick out, Mike. Don't always have one of these, but yeah, Bobby was doing some experimenting and decided to use a kick out. So there is a gate on there, but it's actually being triggered by the kick sample. Following that, I've got that same drum EQ, but yeah, just boosted a little bit more on that low end, not quite so much on the top end, and I've not quite taken as much mid-range out on that one, but this time I did use the True Dynamics compressor, because it's a different mic. It's got a little bit of a different sound to it. Moving on to the snares. So the snare sample, as well as the A console, I'm using this tape saturator from Black Rooster Audio. Yeah, I could have banged the slate tape onto there, but I'll use a bit of a different tape emulator just to give a bit of different sound, a bit of variety in the track. And then I'm using a multi-transient. This one I'm using just from Audio Assault. What I'm doing with this one is I'm just boosting the top and low end and just reducing that mid-range down a little bit. And then for the actual main processing, EQ, compression, etc., I went with the slate rack. I did try using the drum EQ. I wasn't quite getting the sound I wanted from the AX one, so I went back to the tried and tested one I've been using for a while now. Boom, 2 minutes, I got where I wanted to be. Awesome. So yeah, we're using a bit more saturation with the inbuilt virtual channel. I could have taken that out with having the A console in, but I thought I'll leave it in. Then we're using the FGN, just boosting a little bit of top end with this being a snare sample, just to help it cut through the mix. Just boosting a little bit there at around about 2K, taking a bit of the mid-range out at roughly 700 hertz. That's it on there. Then I'm using the CS lift just to give a bit of presence and a bit of punch. And then using the FGS, which is like an SSL style EQ. And all I've done with this, I'm using a high pass filter around about 90 hertz, and just taking a little bit more of that mid range out around about 570 hertz, give or take. And I am just giving it a little boost at the top end at around about 7.5K, 8K. And then after that, I'm just using this FG stress. It's like a distressor type compressor, and got everything set to about medium, random medium input, medium attack and release, and a reasonable medium output. We're just getting around about 6 to 7 dB of gain reduction. So let's have a quick look. Yeah, around about 6 to 7 dBs of gain reduction. Added this revival in just to add a little bit of shimmer and thickness. It's like adding it's not quite the same as the pull technique, but it's very similar sounding. And then trim at the end, but didn't need to take anything off there. And then it's basically on the snare. It's basically the same processing. We've got that same tape saturator, multi-transient, because it's basically, well, it's the same snare, but the only difference I have got noise gating just to take a bit of the cymbals out and a bit of the kick drum out. But apart from that, the actual processing is exactly the same. Except I'm not boosting as much top end on this one, with this being the live snare. But as you can see, everything else is the same. Let's have a look, see how much gain reduction we're getting off on that. Around about same. I've not over compressed these snares, so around about 5 to 6 dB of gain reduction, and all them settings are exactly the same, the revival and the trimmer, because it's the same snare. On the snare bottom mic, all I'm using this is for the top end sizzle, so everything taken out below 1.7K, and then just use it as a Casrog True Dynamics compressor. You see, just getting about 4 dB of gain reduction there. As you can see, all those are panned straight down the middle. I'm a big fan of LCR panning. I don't use any stereo wideners on any mix. Not these days anyway. I have done in the past. I've never been happy with them. So I'm a big fan of LCR panning. So as you can see, we've just got 2 toms. We've got a rack tom and a floor tom. And I did forget to mention this. These drums are audience perspective, not drummer's perspective. So as you can see, I've got the rack tom panned 40% to the right, and the floor tom 60% to the left, and it's very similar processing on them both. So just got this transient shaper on here just to add a bit of attack, take a little bit of the sustain out, and using that AIX drum EQ, and as you can see, we've filtered everything out below 55 hertz. Just boosted a bit of low end in there, taking some of that mid-range out, and just boosted a tiny little bit, and about 4K, 3.5, 4K. Filtered everything out above 10K, and then just using that same Casrog compressor. So I'll look, see how much compression we get in on that rack tom. Yeah, between 4 and 8 dB. On the floor tom, basically it's the same processing. You're not reinventing the wheel. All I do is just copy and paste the settings. I'll get one tom roughly where I like it, and then copy and paste those, and then just adjust as needed. So I'd say we've got the same transient, the same drum EQ, as you can see, with it being the floor tom. The EQ is slightly different, just knocking a bit of that mid-range up, just boosting a little bit of the bottom end. I think, did I raise any of the top end up? No, didn't do anything at the on the upper end. I was happy with just that little boost at the low end. Same again, got that same compressor. You're not reinventing the wheel, just to keep things consistent across the toms. So let's have a look, see how much gain reduction we get in on the floor tom. Yeah, same again, between 5 and 8 dB. Oh, to the hi-hats. Now, I generally tend to have the actual hi-hats themselves quite low in the mix, because you get enough hi-hat from the overheads, but when it's this more sort of indie rock, pop punk type stuff, you can just add a little bit of excitement. So as well as the A console, I've got the red light distortion. The stock distortion is Studio 1, and then after that I've got a bit of EQ, just taking all that top end of the hi-hats and then reintroducing it using this exciter from Ozone, and then after that the actual main EQ, and as you see I'm just taking all that low end out of the hats because it's not needed, and just taking some annoying frequencies out, and that's all processing I've got on the hats. On the ride, as you can see, I have got these panned in a little bit. Normally I do have these hard panned. On the ride, all I've got is some EQ, just taking everything out below 250 hertz. And I don't think there's actually much ride in this song. In fact, there's no ride on this song. So, to the overheads themselves, I've got that red light distortion in there again, just to add some extra excitement into the overheads. Some EQ, just taking everything out below roughly 1K, and then just compression just to tame down all those hardest hits. Now, as you can see, I have got some automation, but we'll have a look at that later. And all these are room mics. So we've got a mono room mic first. All we've got on there is just some EQ, just to take all that low end rumble out from the kick drum. And I'm just taking a couple of little annoying frequencies out there, one at 550 hertz and one at 1.8k. Some compression. Let's have a look, see how much gain reduction we're getting there. Yeah, just really kicking in on that snare drum, so it's getting about 3 dB of gain reduction. Then just using some delay, and as you see, I've got it on the mono and the stereo pair of room mics, and yeah, just basically just to add a little bit of natural reverb, just to make the drum sound a little bit bigger. And all this is just a basic delay set to 20 milliseconds. So 15 to 20 milliseconds is a good sweet spot. Anything more than that, it's sounding a bit weird. I have tried it, honest folks. And then, as you see, we've got a stereo pair of room mics there, room left, room right. They're hard panned. It's basically roughly the same EQ and compression. And that same delay, and it's the same on the other room mic. Just copy and paste across, move on with your life. No need to reinvent and EQ everything separately for every track. Just copy and paste, move on. So I've got the same EQ, same compressor, and the same delay. And then we've got this hallway mic. What this is basically a stereo pair stuck out in the hallway outside Bobby's studio, just to capture some natural ambience from outside of the room. It's been doing this on a lot of mixes recently, and it sounds pretty cool, and it just adds a little bit more natural sound to the drums. So on there, obviously after the A console, we've got some EQ in there, just taking everything out below 80 hertz, just taking a little bit of 500 hertz out. I've actually got a little bit of boost in there, and then a little shell filter at 70k, 18k. Some more compression in there as well, just to tame down on my snares. And with this being a hallway mic, there's no need for the delay on this. And then finally on the drums, we've got these ceiling mics. Same again. I think it's basically the same, similar, well, very similar EQ to the other room mics, except we've just got a little bit of a shell filter in there just to tame down on the cymbals. And that same 20 millisecond delay. The routing or the routing we've got on this, all the shells are being sent to a drums submix, or drum bus if you will, and I've got all the cymbals, the overheads and the room mics. I've got them going directly to the drums stem bus. They're not going to a separate submix. But also in this mix, I have got some parallel compression set up on the kicks, the snares and the toms. And then the snares and the toms are going to an effects reverb. So first off, let's have a look at the parallel compression. Now I did try a couple of different compressors, but I ended up just using the SSL one. And let's have a look, see how much gain reduction we're getting on this. Yeah, getting about 8 to 10 dB of gain reduction. So I've got quite big threshold, little bit of makeup gain, slow attack, fast release, and a ratio of 4:1. And that's it, that's all I had on there. Didn't bother with any EQ. As you can see, they're blended into the drums. Just blend those in with the drums, and then under actual drums submix, a console in there just to keep that saturation going off of that console emulation. Now normally I'll use this tool code, but since I've got that parallel compression going off, I wasn't using that. and just some little bit of EQ. So I've taken everything out below 30 Hz, everything out above 10K, just to get a shot of the cymbals, and just duck down a little bit around about 115 Hz, just to tame that low end down a little bit. And then we've got some tape saturation. Did I use the clip? No, I didn't use a clipper this time. Sometimes I'll use a clipper just to boost the drums a little bit, but didn't need it this time, so it wasn't used. It's in my template. I send my shells off to a drums distortion effects track. On there, I use the head crusher from Audio Assault. This one I've got it on the American setting, just a little bit of a drive, some ripple, and a little bit of noise in there, and then just some EQ just to take that top end off. It's just to thicken the drums up a little bit. And then on the reverb track, I'm using the 1989 verb from the guys at Ugritone. Sometimes I'll use this. I've got the new verb core one that they're using, the Rotten Core from Aurora DSP. They're my go-to reverbs. I'm loving that Rotten Core. But this time I just use the 89 verb. It's in my template. And then same again, using that same EQ just to take the top end of the snare out. As you can see, I've just got one instance of the snare sample. Same with the toms, but on the snare bottom, I tend to have more reverb in there. So as you see, I've got a few cents of the snare bottom. All that is going to this drums stem track, which I've got that A console, and then I am adding a tiny little bit of EQ in there with this 1081 style EQ. So I'm just boosting a little bit of bottom end in there, taking a tiny amount of mid-range in, and then boosting a little bit of 8K, and boosting a little bit of top end 15K, just add a little bit of excitement. So on the drums, we have got some automation going off. It's just mainly on these room mics. So let's just bring these up a little bit. Where's it gone? There we go. And all it is just a little bit of a boost, just in a couple of places, just to emphasise the cymbals. And that's just happening in a couple of spots. So there's one there, and then there's another one there. Just to add a little bit of excitement in there. And then I've got one going off on the drum submix as well. Just to enhance that snare. I suppose I could have done it on the snare, but yeah, I just thought I'd do it globally on the drums bus. And that's everything on the drums. So let's move along to some bass. Right, as you can see, we have got two bass tracks here. All they are, it's the same performance, it's just copied and pasted onto a second bass. It's just one performance. So Bobby just sends one track through, and then what some of us do, or I think most of us do, we just copy and paste that onto a separate track just for that mid-range distortion track. And these are straight DI tracks, so they sound like this without anything on. So nothing too exciting there. So on the actual main bass track with the processing on, I'm using the Rex Brown bass forge from Joey Sturgis Tones. I'm just taking some of that mid-range out on the actual bass, just boosting a little bit of low end and a little bit at 1.5K. Little distortion in there, about 50% distortion. Got a little bit of drive contour, a little bit of thump, and some bark in there. Didn't add any extra distortion in with the vintage tube preamp. I just used the basic stock IR. Didn't use any extra effects. Did I use anything on there? No, I didn't touch any of the inbuilt EQ. or compression. That's basically all I used in there. Following that, just some EQ, just taking everything out below 50 hertz, just boosting low end around about 70 hertz, just to give it a bit of thump, cutting some mid range out, and just giving a little bit of a boost at 1.6k, and then filtering everything out above 4.5k, because for the bass it's not needed. And then just adding some compression in there as well. Yeah, between 2 and 5 dB of gain reduction. This guy's, I think he's a finger picker rather than using a pick, so fingerstyle basis, so it didn't over compress these. And then just to keep them nice and level, just using this Loud Max limiter. And same again, between about 3 and 5 dB of gain reduction. It just keeps that level in there. And then for the second bass, it sounds a bit like this. Yeah, on its own, it sounds a bit honky and a bit nasty, and that's what we like. So, I am using that same bass forge, but as you can see, I've cranked the distortion on there, and I have got the tube preamp engaged. But this time, boosting the mid-range, adding a lot more drive, not so much thump, a little bit of bark, and some contour in there. It was the same again, just use the stock IR, and didn't use any of the inbuilt effects. The EQ, all it is, filtered everything out below 550 hertz and everything above 3k, just to concentrate on that mid-range. And then that same compressor, it's not really doing anything, and that same Loud Max limiter, which is just catching those extreme peaks, but together the bass sounds like this. Together, I think they sound absolutely awesome. I think they sound pretty good anyway. Yes, they are going off to a bass submix. All I've got going off on there is some EQ, just taming that low end down with a shelf, and just notched a couple of little annoying frequencies out by very little. So as you can see, almost 2 dB and almost a dB at 2.5k, and that's it. And then that goes to a stem track, and all I've got on there is the A console. That's across all the stem tracks. That's it. That's all the processing on the bass. There's no automation on the bass. So let's have a look at the guitars next. We have got all these guitar tracks to go through, so you might want to grab yourself a drink here. Right, so we start off with 2 DI tracks, so you can either reamp them through an amp sim or through an amp if you want to do that. But I'm using the guitars supplied. So let's have a quick listen to the rhythm guitars on their own. Yeah, I'm quite digging that tone. Now, from what Bobby says, this is a Mazer combo amp. He couldn't remember what the actual model of the was. It wasn't a rectifier, but it was some sort of Mazer cab. This song is in standard tuning. Normally, I'll EQ rhythm guitars on the submix, but this time I've done it individually because apparently there was 2 different mic placements for either side. So we've just got this EQ going off on the left hand side, taking everything out below 85 hertz, everything out above 10k, and just notched a little bit out of that honky mid-range. And then with this not being a sort of heavier, overly distorted track, we've just got some compression in there all this is just to add a little bit of character. As you can see, we're not overly compressing, just a couple of dB at most. On the other side, it's a fairly similar EQ, just notching slightly different frequencies out and not quite as much. And then we've got the same compressor. Those two tracks go to the guitar submix, and on the submix, just to add some excitement to the guitars, just using that stock red light distortion in Studio One and just a tiny amount of EQ. That's it. Did we use the didn't even use any C4 on this one. Sometimes I will use this passive EQ, it's like a Pultec, but I didn't use that this time. That's all the processing on the rhythm guitars by the stem track, which is the A console, and there is some automation on one of the rhythm guitars, but we'll show you that in a second. But we have got all these lead tracks. Now what this band tend to do, they tend to have little leads going off behind the vocals, as well as some main leads. So we've got this intro lead. That's just going off just on top of those rhythm guitars. And then we have this verse lead. Which is like just an octave thing further up the neck. And then we have the actual solo itself. Which is followed by a second solo. And then in the choruses, we have these other solos. And then there's one just in the pre-chorus. Processing on all these on the actual intro one. Just got some EQ on there, take everything out below 170, everything out above 5.5K, and just notching a little bit out at 500 Hz and a little bit out at 2K. And on this intro guitar, I have actually put the delay on the actual track itself rather than an effects channel, and I'm choosing a multi-tap delay just on half notes, and yeah, that's basically it. On the verse leads, all I've got in there is just a high and a low pass filter. That's it. I didn't send any of these to a effects track at all. On the main solo, basically that same EQ and that same multi-tap delay. I think that's the same across all three of these. Like I say, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Copy and paste those settings. But on this chorus, to get it out of the way of the vocals, what I've done is I've changed this from a mono track into a stereo track, and I've panned those out, doing that same trick. So we've got that same EQ, same multi-tap delay, and then I've got the Waves Super Trap set up to quarter note delays, and I've got one side a little bit more than the other ones set to 0 delay, the other side set to 2, just to give a bit of stereo width to it and to get it out of the way of the vocals. And then this pre-chorus is just that same EQ and multi-tap delay. We have got quite a bit of automation going off on these guitars. So first off, on the rhythm guitar, we've just got some little bits of volume automation going off in there. I'll tell you why in a second. The intro, we've just got some volume automation, just dipping it down a little bit because it's really high up the guitar, and it was, if it was at the same volume, it was sounding a little bit piercing. On this first lead, we have got some panning automation on here. So in the first verse, it's panned out to about 62%. And that's why we've got this volume automation on the rhythm guitar, just to get it out of the way, just to dip it down. because we've got this lead panned out to the left. But when it comes around second time, we've got it panned out to 75%. And there's a little bit of volume automation going off in there as well. I just wanted to bring that little bit of a lead out in that part of the song. For the actual main leads themselves, volume automation going off on the main lead for when these secondary solos kick in. So let's have a quick look at that. Just to keep everything nice and balanced, so it's not like you're suddenly getting an extra boost in volume when a second or a third lead kicks in on your guitars. All of those leads go directly to the guitar stem. So that's all guitars. So next, we'll move on to the vocals. So the vocalist is called Kevin Torres. He apparently is no relation to Bobby Torres. But let's have a quick listen to his vocals on their own without the processing on. This is the main verse vocal.
Here we stand, glorious. We're out here on our own.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I do like his vocal style. I don't like his vocals. He's a pretty damn good vocalist. So with the processing on, sounds a bit like this.
Here we stand, glorious. We're out here on our own. We've reached for the stars, we kept coming.
And as you can see, I do most of my processing, all the individual tracks, not in the stem. I've got that A console going across all the vocals. It's basically the same processing on all the vocals. So I've got the A console up, followed by a compressor, just to... I have compression and saturation on right at the beginning, just to sort of emulate the analog way of processing vocals. Because back in the days, a vocalist would go through a compressor and have some natural tape saturation, plus he's going through the console anyway. And this is these processors are mimicking that workflow. So let's have a look, see how much gain reduction we're getting on his vocals.
We're out here on our own.
About 6 to 10 dB of gain reduction in there. After that, I am just using some EQ, and that is all the EQ I've got on his vocals. Just taking everything out below roughly 200 hertz and just dipping some mid-range out. That is it. And then after that, got a second compressor. I'm using the LA2A style compressor from Purified. I nearly said Panda, Purified Audio. I am actually loving this compressor, especially on vocals. And let's have a look to see how much gain reduction we're getting on there.
And glorious, we're out here on our own.
As you can see, I am absolutely slamming that compressor. We're getting a hell of a lot of gain reduction on there, but each keeping the vocals nice and tight, nice and compressed. Following that, just to keep everything in control, we've got that same loud max limiter.
And glorious, we're out here on our own.
Just to keep the vocals at a nice consistent volume. As you can see, you get about 4 to 6 dB of gain reduction there. Some de-essing.
We've reached for the stars, we kept coming up short, but there's always tomorrow.
So it's just cutting down on the cesses. And then right at the end, I'm just using some saturation just to give his voice a bit more grit behind it.
We're out here on our own.
And that's basically the same across all the vocals except a couple in the chorus. On the second one, as you see, it's all the same processing. It's just got just got that same sort of delay trick in there, just to separate those, just to give a bit of width of the vocals in the chorus.
Run faster, move faster, grab your gun.
And then we've got this third vocal kicking in on the chorus. I've also done that same trick, making that into a stereo track, just to add a bit of width to it. Then we've got these lo-fi vocals. Let's have a look. Let me find a bit with the lo-fi vocals. Ah, there they are. Eddie's doing a little bit of screaming. This guy can actually do some screamy vocals as well as clean vocals. So to dirty those vocals up, really, using the TSE bass audio, which is basically a Sansan type pedal, and I'm distorting the living crap out of this, dipping down a bit the lows and the highs, just using that same compressor. Which is not doing too much. Basically, yep, just to make it a bit more lo-fi, just putting a bit of a low-pass filter in there at 12k. That same second compressor. Same DS, but got multi-tap delay there as well, just to give it a bit of a, I don't know if you will, stereo effect. And yeah, did I? No, because we've got that overdrive in there, didn't need the saturation. That's all the processing on the vocals. You see, there is quite a bit on there, but it's just little bits. They're all doing a little bit. They're not all, you haven't got like one compressor doing all the compression. I like to add separate compressors in, just to add little bits, just to do little bits of processing at a time. Now, all those go off to a vocals submix, and all I've got on there is just some extra saturation. That is it. I didn't even bother adding any extra EQ on there, and just that same A console on the stem track. But we have got some automation going off on here. On the main vocal track, I've got going to a slapback delay, and all I've got on there is the echo vibe from Audio Assault. Got a bit of a slapback echo effect going off in there, and just filtered everything out below 3.5k. And then we have got some automation going off in there as well. And I think that's going to the mono delays. Have a look. Just for those delay throws. So on the mono delay, it's super trap, and it's in sync with the tempo of the song, set to quarter notes, and there's the settings I've got on there. EQ just taking everything out above 10k. No, I did think about adding some reverb in this, but I didn't in the end. On the main chorus vocal, that's going to the same slapback. And then right at the end, got a delay throw going off right on that last one, but that is going to a stereo delay. That's super trap, same again, but instead of being in mono, it's in stereo with an EQ cut in there at 3k. All these other vocals I sent to a reverb, and on that verb 2, all I've got going off on there is I've just used the tiny shiny reverb. So I just used the 89 reverb again. Just a little bit of EQ. Automation wise, like I said, we've got a few bits going off here and there, mainly delay throws, but also a couple of other little bits. So, like I say, on the main verse and that chorus, there is some delay throws. On the second chorus, I did bring that second chorus vocal down just a tiny amount. Only by about dB or so. But we have got some automation going off, but I've got that going off via this VCA fader, and that's for these bridge vocals here. So we've got this sort of bridge, sort of, if you will, like row your boat style vocal going off.
Over and over again, I wasn't really listening to all the words inside my head.
But just at the end of that, the verse vocal kicks back in again. So what we've done, I've just added all 4 of these tracks to a VCA fader just to bring the volume down a touch when the main vocal kicks back in again.
A simple melody we sing keeps going over and over again. We're standing glorious inside my head, screaming the world's a fucking joke. We're standing glorious inside my.
So, just to bring that down by a dB and a half or so, I will include this on this section, even though it's not really part of the main vocals. There is some gang vocals in there. Now, what Bobby does is get all the gang vocals together, do the processing, and then just bounce that down into a stereo track. And all I've got going off on there is just this stock room reverb in Studio One, just to sort of make it stand back a little bit from the main vocals. So the last thing we've got going off on the main tracks is just a reverse cymbal. It is just some EQ, just to get, I think I just copied the hi-hat EQ and just copied and pasted that across. So that's all the tracks, the sub-mixers, effects and stem tracks gone through. So let's have a look what we've got going off on the actual main fader. First thing going off on the master fader, main fader, toolbox, whatever you want to call it. For the console emulation, I've got the A console up again, but I've got this set up as a bus module, so you can have it set up as bus or a channel. This obviously is set up as a bus, and all these stem A consoles are routed in. Routed into this, so you can actually control the volumes. If something's a bit loud, something's a bit quiet, you can adjust in here, and you can add some extra drive into those as well. But I was happy with how it was sounding as it was, so I left that, just boosted the bass and guitar a little bit towards the final end of the mix, and just brought the vocals down a touch, just instead of actually tweaking on the individual faders. It's easier to do it in this. So after that, we've got some bus compression, the SSL bus compressor. So I won't say how much compression we get in on there. Yeah, around about 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction. I tend to use this more of a transparent compression, if you will, just more of glue rather than have it a bit more pumping. I know some engineers will have it a bit more compressed just to give that pumping effect. I tend to have it more transparent. After that, just got some tape emulation on there, the not the SSL, the Slate Digital. Just to add that tape saturation in there, and then we've just got some EQ just to control the low end. Just got a bit of a shelf in there at 70 hertz, just dipped a little bit out at 160k, just a dB, just to control that low end. That's it, that's all the EQ I've got on the tool bus. And then just to make things a bit louder, I just got the stock limiters, brick wall limiter in Studio One, just set to -1 dB and just boosted the gain up just to bring the volume up to sort of more of a, if you will, towards a more mastered level. And see, it is clipping a little bit, but not too much. It's not doing a great deal, and I've got Restream on there, but that's nothing to do with the mix. That's just to get it into OBS. So that's everything I had going off on the mix. But when I've done with the mix, what I do is switch that off, and then I move on to mastering. So let's have a look to see what we've got going off in mastering. Right, on the master, as you can see, I have got 2 versions going off in there. One was the original one, and one was a slight tweak, and I'll tell you what that slight tweak was in a moment. On mastering itself, all I'm using is ozone. That's it. First off, just got some multiband compression in there just to keep a handle on everything. So let's see how much gain reduction we're getting out. You'll see the gain reduction in the meters at the bottom. As you see, it's not too much, it's just a couple of dB at the most. After that, using the inbuilt exciter, got it to roughly 50% mix and got them out to about 60% using the retro setting, which to me does give it a bit more of a tape sound on there. And then after that, using the maximizer, got the ceiling set to -0.1. I've just got it set to there just so it doesn't clip. Some people have it set to -1, -0.5. You have it set to wherever you want. Got the character about 0.75. I have got dithering going off in there. Just got it on the medium settings. Yeah, just a little bit of limiting going off in there. And that's what I do like about this limiter in ozone, this maximising limiter. It's very transparent. It's just really clipping and clamping down on those snare hits. So there you go. There's the full breakdown of the mix and master that I did. Let's have a listen to the full song itself.
listening to all the words inside my head. The simple melody we sing keeps going over and over again. I wasn't really listening to all the words inside my head. The simple melody we sing keeps going over and over again. We're standing glorious, screaming the world's a fucking joke. We're standing glorious, screaming the world's a fucking joke. I can't stop feeling insecure. I
So there you go. That's the full version of the song, mixed and mastered at Evil Wizard Productions. So here's the feedback that I got from Bobby Torres himself.
All right, moving right along, we have my man Lee. Let's see what Lee mixed this month. Here's my take on this month's mix. Another banger from Poeta. I agree. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Hell yeah. Yeah, Lee, man, this year, you've hit the next notch 100% consistently also. I just love it. The overall, it's well balanced. It sounds like a record, you know? The snare is a little less attacky than my mix, but honestly, I kind of like that better. My original mix of the album, or the test mix, was a little more, the snare was a little more in the direction that you did. The drummer wanted more top end, so that's why it's a little bitier than I personally would have liked it in my mix, but I love it. It sounded great so far. And the vocals sound great so far also, so let's keep listening. Okay, the only thing I can really nitpick, and this is a nitpick, I feel like the vocals might be slightly overly de-essed. Maybe. I'm missing some of his sibilants here and there. But dude, the balance overall is great. I love the drum sound, and also I could hear every layer that the band wanted. One challenge with this band, like I said, there are a lot of guitar layers, but they're not half-assed. Like, they're really well planned. They were all in the pre-production, or most of them were in the pre-production. So all this stuff was planned out and with intention, and the guitar player really wanted all of it to be heard, and I could hear everything crystal clear. I know it takes effort. This mix in particular, it takes effort because it's all raw, natural sounds from a project studio, and also there's so many layers that have to be heard. But dude, you did a killer job overall. My main note would be to just check the de-essing on the vocal. I feel like it might be slightly overly de-essed, maybe slightly. But that's it, man. Lee, you're killing it. You're definitely use that on your portfolio. I would, maybe go in there and slightly un-de-ess some of the vocals, throw it on your portfolio. That's definitely gonna impress people, in my opinion. Good stuff. Yeah, great separation and great punch and warmth. That's always the challenge, is to not over or underdo things, right? Now, obviously, high pass. One of the big secrets is using enough high pass. People seem to not generally like people that are getting into this, we freak out and don't use it enough. But you use like just the right amount to create that nice space. So sounding awesome.
Oh, there you go. That's why I've got two versions in the master itself. The first one was the original mix and master I did. And then, I did back off that de-esser a bit. So that's the second one that you've just heard. And I've got to admit, I'm absolutely really proud of this mix. Like I said, Bobby gave me that feedback. I played this track to a few other people. Matt Chandler, the guy who I do the live streams with. Obviously, the beer wench, she's heard this track. She's probably sick of hearing this track by the time I mixed it up. And we go from Big G over at One Man Stands. He absolutely loves this mix. He can't praise it enough. But let me know what you guys think about this. I know this is probably going to be a hell of a long video, but it's a mixed breakdown. You can't sort of do these things pretty quick. But like I say, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. And if you're a band or an artist, if you're looking to have your stuff mixed and mastered, go and check out my website. I'll put the link up on screen, and it is also down in the description. Hit me up and we'll see if we can work something out. That's if you like how my mixes turn out. There's a full portfolio on the website. And if you want to grab yourself some Evil Wizard merch,
there's a link to the merch store down in the description.
But that's all from me, folks.
I will catch you in the next one.
Right, folks, have you enjoyed that video? You can follow me on social media and you can get my music online. And if you want to support the channel, there's Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal links. They're all down in the description. Click up here to subscribe and click the link down there for videos that you may not have seen. Keep it loud and keep it heavy.